friend Mike Montante sent me a text today saying sounds 500 times better. Which is really a damning compliment, is it not?
Yeah, the show has sounded terrible for years.
That he's been weathering this.
People have been putting up with the terrible audio quality.
Yes, that he's been like the excruciating experience of the show he has tolerated, though it's ripped through his soul for these 4 years now. Finally, it's back where it should. It's where it should be. Quality
maybe we
level.
should see if we can get Roadcaster as a sponsor because this is quite.
The show is 500 times better. That is such a complaint, pretending to be wrapped in a compliment.
Yeah, I mean but that's all positive feedback from everyone, I feel, on that front.
Well, it is, and it is better, and I still have to learn how to make the output higher in this, but it is actually, even my spot, I did an awakened spot today, and it's
Have people complimented your radio show sound quality also?
No, I'm going straight through to the Comrex, though, so they wouldn't know.
Oh.
You know? But it's very interesting because I always figured a mixer is a mixer, and it wouldn't matter. These are all lines
that the quality of the microphones matters and stuff, but not necessarily the mixer.
So I guess there's some kind of processing happening maybe here. I don't know.
It must be
what's
doing something
happening, but yeah, this is great. And once again, thank you to Dennis again for this gift. The first I want to recommend to people, or as they say in Commentary Magazine podcast, I want to commend to people. Oh, yeah, this is my year. By the way, 2025 is my year of pseudo-intellectualism.
Oh, good.
That's my year. I'm commending, I'm sotto voceing left and right.
I don't think they're pseudo on the Commentary podcast.
No,
but
I'm going to be, but when I emulate them, it will be pseudo.
Okay, true.
Yes, sotto voce, nevertheless. Noah Rothman's nevertheless.
Is he still on Commentary? I thought he went away.
No, I know, but I still
okay.
Take from him. He's gone away. Although yesterday was great. Seth Mandel and Noah, which is redundancies. We love Seth Mandel because his wife is our friend.
Mm-hmm.
Bethany Mandel, who's really kind of an extraordinary human being. Here's what I wanted to say. Why am I starting here? Oh, yeah, there's a new food show out today. It's a solo one starring Tom Shattuck, in which it's very scandalous, Alice. There's a lot of things ripped from my life.
Okay.
Including...
Am I banned because of my seed oils discussion?
Apparently, that has caused controversy. But it's funny because it starts with when 20 years ago I had a new girlfriend that was a different girlfriend than you, before you. You would have been around 17 back then. So, and I had a girlfriend who...
Almost 18.
I went to this Italian restaurant, and I tell this story. I went to this Italian restaurant with this girlfriend on a date. She wasn't my girlfriend then, but we were about to be close. And so we went, she came over, old high school flame of my, well, no, not flame. I wanted her to be my
old high school crush.
Yes. And so we went to this restaurant where I knew the owner. He's an Italian guy. His name is Maurizio. Some of you may know him. He used to, or maybe still does. He used to own Limoncello in the North End. Mm-hmm. And Maurizio was a classic Italian. He's exactly who you want to be the owner of the restaurant when you guys know each other. And I was a concierge, so I used to send him lots of business. And Maurizio came over, talked about Ciao Bella, how gorgeous she was to her face, like Italian guys do. Certainly, I think you're probably immune to it because you're a cold Slavic person. But,
yeah.
But he was like, "Oh, Ciao Bella, she's going to go to this woman. You're so lucky that you're sitting with it." And she bought every bit of it, every bit of it. While he's doing this, he's plying her with limoncello. Plying us with limoncello, but it's working on her. And so we have this, she has this beautiful, gorgeous meal, and pasta and all sorts of gorgeous, dessert and this and that, and her limoncello. And she comes we go out of the restaurant, and she is like so impressed and so feeling limoncello, as I was too. But it was perfectly evolved words. This is our first date, and she spent the night. So,
wow.
right. Imagine that with me. And so the next day, she claimed, she said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I actually stayed with you last night. I can't believe I did that last night." I've known her since high school. So I had known her for 15 years at the time. And she said, "Oh, I can't believe, you roofied me? Did you roofie me?" I said, "No, I didn't roofie you. Not every time somebody sleeps with Tom Shattuck has somebody been roofied." And she said, "I can't believe, I know you roofied me." And I said,
And she was okay with it.
well, that's the whole point, is that like, we were together for a couple of years, and whenever people would ask us how we met and when we went on, she would mention that I roofied her on the first night. And I don't even know what a roofie is, how to get one, how to administer it. I don't know any of those things. But it is so interesting that, and maybe that's a Gen X thing too, that you kind of expect to be roofied and you can still.
I mean, millennials were all taught that too. But I definitely think like there's sort of these urban legends. It happens all the time that there'll be like a trend of people claiming that they were roofied in a city for a while. Like,
right.
Oh my God. Mostly, maybe not always. Maybe people drug drinks. Like, I mean, I assume one probably shouldn't just leave your drink unattended sitting around the bar. I don't know. But I think there are probably not an infrequent number of times that girls just get more drunk than they intend to and then assume that they've been roofied.
Yes. Although there was a time like that we watched, certainly Gen X in 80s and previous to that culture was a lot more rapey. There's no doubt about that. Remember we watched with your sister and her friend Roadhouse? Mm-hmm. And like there were 18 attempted rapes in Roadhouse when the woman wouldn't.
I mean, even 16
when the woman wouldn't go along with it. The guy was like backhanding and like starting to rip clothes off, and Dalton had to go in there and prevent another rape happening. But also, and this is way predating you, and this is people my age and older will remember this. Do you probably never heard of? Have you heard of General Hospital?
Yes.
So there was a super.
Is that the one that George Clooney was on, or was he on a different one? Wasn't he on some medical soap opera show thing?
You mean ER?
Was that what he was on?
Jesus, Alice.
I don't know.
That's 20 years later, but yes, he was on ER.
I haven't watched any of those, so I don't know what any of them are.
He was on ER. He also was on, not Different Strokes, the one with Tootie, whatever, in the 80s, the sitcom. But Give Me a Break, I think it's called.
I haven't heard of that.
Anyway, so here's the thing. So there actually was in the 80s, in the early 80s, the soap opera General Hospital became an international hit because of one season. It just caught fire. So it broke way beyond just the soap opera, viewers. It was the biggest thing in the world. And it was the wedding and love affair of Luke and Laura. Luke and Laura. Luke and Laura met because Luke aggravatedly raped Laura.
Oh.
And they subsequently, because like back then, I guess you were supposed to just walk it off and like let bygones be bygones. Post-rape, they then fell in love and got married, and it was the biggest thing in the world.
Oh.
So I do think that there's part of our culture where that was just like a thing. Like you like 16 Candles.
Yeah.
Like, okay, listen, I might like Molly Ringwald. Now you get to have my girlfriend's unconscious body.
Yeah. I don't know. So it's interesting you bring this up because you think there's an element of truth to this whole thing. Like there's debate about, obviously, the trans movement and what degree of legitimacy to attribute to people who want to live as the opposite sex, right? And
yes.
One of the big questions that people have is, and I'm going to say this word wrong, autogynephilia.
I know, yeah, I think so.
So the idea being that that's men who are turned on by the idea of being women.
Yep.
Right? And their argument is, because a lot of people, this is something that gets talked about because basically like people see it as a less legitimate way of being trans, right? Like if it's a fetish, then, like why do you get to use my bathroom? Right? And
right.
So there's debate about this, but there are trans activists who argue that, well, why shouldn't we be able to be like turned on by the idea of being, women and being manhandled by men or whatever. And like a lot of the things that they say publicly, like some of them are very rapey, but their argument is, well, like, look at all the romance novels, look at all the movies, like, look at all the fantasies women, biological women have. Why shouldn't we have the same fantasies about being women? Which I
Okay.
disagree with, but I think it's an interesting point. And I think that it's interesting that you bring it up, like how relevant it is in the culture.
So are these men who want to be... there is, like, even if when guys used to talk to each other, my bros, etc., like, I remember it being a thing. The guys would say, oh, if I was a chick, I'd be like a total slut. But these were all straight guys, and so maybe they never didn't think any deeper that meant generally that you'd be handling a lot of man appendages. But I think, you guys know, guys, if the guys been in chat or our regulars will know, like, you remember that, guys, right? And it's like, I think that, and I wonder where that comes from actually, because it seems kind of odd, because you're hooking, or maybe that's just simply transference because you're a guy and you are a slut as a guy generally.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they're obviously like not inside the heads of women actually,
right.
So, and men and women do behave differently. So, there is this reality that, though, that, and trans people say, like, and I would say that the reason why as a trans person or whatever, like, as a man, you're not supposed to be turned on by the idea of women being raped because you're not a woman. Like, whereas, like, it's different if you are a woman about it. And there is a whole, like, discussion of this, though, because there are trans activists, like, I'm going to get her name wrong, but there is a discussion of this because there are trans activists who are open about the autogynephilia piece.
And does autogynephilia have to be just rape or rough sex?
No, not necessarily at all, but just turned on by the idea of, like, femininity and, like, being the feminine partner in a sexual scenario.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Like, but that language does get very rapey because a lot of times they'll use language, like, I'm looking for this particular one that I thought I sent us, but maybe I didn't. I think her name is, like, Andrea something, or his name, I guess. But this one trans person will talk about, like, how, like, the definition of womanhood is this, like that women get effed, basically, and that's what it means to be a woman. And so obviously a lot of women take issue with that, like, the reason that you can identify as a woman and what you feel defines womanhood is getting effed by guys.
Although that does seem to be in the same universe as being a trashy drag queen. Do you know what I mean? It's like guys who want to do the girl stuff, like the flashy, trashy part of it.
Here's the exact quote. Pornography is what it feels like when you think you have an object, but really the object has you. It is therefore a quintal expression of femaleness. Getting effed makes you female because effed is what a female is. He also said, autogynephilia describes not an obscure paraphilic affliction, but rather the basic structure of all human sexuality, the assimilation of any erotic images by nature female. To be female is in every case to become what someone else wants. At bottom, everyone is a sissy.
Jesus, what world are we in
where
here?
gay guys get F, she says, is the universal vagina through which femaleness can always be accessed. But that's like, another trans guy who thinks he's a girl, Grace Lavery, said, "There's something about being treated like bleep by men that feels like an affirmation itself, like a cry of delight from the deepest cavern of my breast. To be the victim of honest, undisguised sexism possesses an exhilarating vitality."
So, I mean, this opens up the universe again, because I do think for women there's an element of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
But don't you think it's misplaced when it comes from a man?
Yeah. I think it's misplaced when it comes from a man.
This dude, Jacob Tobias,
I mean, but that just makes a guy gay, right?
Says, women around the world have been treated as sexual objects, yet if sexual objectification is so categorically awful, why do I want it so badly? I want to be sexually objectified. The idea that being seen as a sex object is universally a bad thing is too simple, like many of the tenets of feminism. Like, and I think women rightfully view that as a problematic way to view womanhood, especially from someone who walks around saying that they claim womanhood, right? But their answer to that,
Yes.
but the reason why I brought it up in relation to what you're talking about how like culture used to be more rapey or problematic, right? Is like that's trans people's answer to that. Like men who want to pretend to be women, when they get that criticism that like your view of women is extremely sexist and objectifying, they say, well, so is women's view of women. That's what they want to be treated like. So that just makes me like all the other women.
Well, so there's two parts of that. One, I think that men see women certainly as exciting when in sexual scenarios, obviously. Mm-hmm. And very few men, but some, in probably only legitimate trans people, actually just want to be a woman picking through the aisles of a bookstore. That's not exciting. That's not especially like doing anything. But
I mean, I think there are some trans people for whom that.
Yes, there are. Like probably Christine from who listens to WTIC is just being
right. But I think there are absolutely people for whom it's a fetish.
Well, yes. Some people, I certainly think it's a fetish. I certainly think, like I was saying, is like the drag queen people, if you're only doing like the slutty, garish, garter belt thing, like only the stuff that you would point out as a straight guy would point out as like the cool stuff about chicks, like this is where you pay attention. But yeah, that is a weird role playing, and God knows what goes into that. God knows what goes into that.
But that's part of, I mean, and I think this is where the trans movement really loses people, because at that point, we're not talking about like deep distress with your body and dysphorias. We're talking about fetishes. And I think that it really does the legitimacy of talking about this as a medical issue. And I think that, you know, the trans community, quote unquote, has worked really hard to say that being trans isn't a medical issue, which I think it obviously is. It was in the mental health guidebook for a long time, right? That it undermines the legitimacy of other people, because I, for one, like, I have more sympathy for somebody who has a medical issue that they have like a mental disorder that's causing them distress with their body and stuff. The same way I would have sympathy for somebody who's anorexic or anything else, right? Like, and I think it really undermines the sympathetic message to have dudes who clearly have a fetish running around saying that's just as legitimate a thing and it's great and it's awesome and you have to have us in the bathroom with you. And they're not really doing anything, if you notice, to dispel any of this when it comes to like this trans congresswoman, whatever, who got elected to Capitol Hill, and who, to this guy's credit, is not asking to be in the women's bathroom, which, like, the whole debate is a little bit spurious because, like, all the congressional offices have their own private bathroom in there.
Yes.
And there's other, like, single person bathrooms in the Capitol building. Like, there's not any reason why Sarah McBride has to go into the women's bathroom, right? But this has brought out like so much deranged behavior on the left and like saying deranged things. Your favorite guy, Tim, what's the guy's name? Tim Miller.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I saw this.
Tweeted out, is it wrong to suggest that Sarah McBride should follow Mike Johnson into the men's room and stand right behind him at the urinal at the next opportunity?
What happened to that guy? It doesn't make any... So, what is that point? Like, by the way, Tim Miller is still supposedly a Republican.
Yeah, he's on the bulwark, which is like...
Yes. Mike Johnson is not Donald Trump. So what is that? What is his thought that does? What does that show? So that he's going to be standing right behind him and intimidating him in the men's room? Well, if he's willing to do that, Tim, then what's he willing to do in the women's room?
Yeah, that's exactly why. And it like so clearly misses the point of what we're talking about, because the whole thing with like bathrooms and biological sex, it's really only about men in women's rooms, right? Like everyone phrases it. It's like the sports thing, right? It's like everyone's like, oh, people should play sports on the team that goes with their biological sex. But like actually no one really cares if girls try and join the boys team.
Well, right.
Because that doesn't matter.
You don't
because
really
this
have to
only
do-
goes
right.
one way. You know, women don't. I mean, women already usually, if the line for the girls' room is too long, they'll go in the men's room and use it.
Yes.
Like, and people do that stuff all the time. Guys don't care if girls come into the men's room.
Well, here's the point of it. Everything is that men do all the raping.
Yeah.
And generally, men don't rape women in the public square. And if they can have a semblance of privacy,
right,
then that works for men. And if the women can be vulnerable, that works even better for men.
Well, right. And it's just a fact that so-called trans women continue to sexually assault people at the same rates that men do, which are different from the rates that women do.
Right.
And they continue to commit other crimes at the same rates that men do, which is why they shouldn't be in women's prisons and stuff, obviously, too. But, like, you know, the whole thing is that actually you can't change who you are. And it's, like, ridiculous that we've gotten to this point, but they've, like, arm twisted everybody into this thing of, like, well, you should be nice to the mentally ill people, which is true. Like, if I were going to go visit a mentally ill relative in the mental hospital and he thought he was Napoleon and it was incredibly distressing to him if I said otherwise, like, I would just call him Napoleon and say how was the, the Russian campaign,
Right.
But to then say that, like, no, that means he's literally actually Napoleon. And that's
You
what
can't
they've
use his
done.
old name.
That's what they've done is they've decided that to using the cover of like, why can't you just be nice to the trans people? Which
It's like what does it bother you? Kind of like with the guy when Matt Walsh said, "What is a woman to the professor?" and he said, "Why do you want to know?" It's like why do you have to start trouble with people? They just want.
Why do you need to be mean to people?
Matter. It's like it's hardly happening. It's the same thing like with the sports. It's hardly happening with they're playing women's sports. It's hardly happening. But, of course, they need to have a codified rule that it's absolutely legal, whatever. If it's hardly happening, then why do you need a rule?
Right.
You know? It's amazing. But, by the way, can I... this is McBride. This is the dude who now claims to be a woman who's now new to Congress. This is McBride sometime, I think, in the last year, talking about boys playing girls' sports.
The stated motive behind this legislation is to address a perceived competitive advantage within women and girls' sports. You know, one of the most significant competitive disparities that exists is based on family wealth and those who can afford private coaching and those who can't. And so I'm curious, this legislation does not forbid private coaching, correct?
This legislation is aimed at fairness in women's sports. It's to protect women's sports and to protect women against injuries and protect them from losing opportunities for scholarships.
First of all, there's no legislation that could forbid private coaching because it'd be unconstitutional.
Well,
You can't be getting extra help on the side.
the
Be
other
only
thing,
this good.
the other thing that strikes me about this, and like once again, if I'm gonna like personally run into Sarah McBride, am I gonna give the guy a hard time? Like, no. But they do this thing also, especially when it comes to these bathroom things, where they'll show like trans people that really, really pass. Like, especially like chicks that have been on testosterone forever and are super muscular and like have a beard and stuff. And they're like, well, would you want this guy in the women's room or whatever? or, they do stuff like this. And I've seen people doing this with Sarah McBride, like posting the picture and being like, this lady's supposed to go in the men's room. Are you like, she passes. But obviously all of this legislation is about people who don't pass, because if you actually pass, then nobody will know what bathroom you're in. Right? Like, and there's some sort of like weird denialism on the left about like how well people pass. Like the fact that they're posting Sarah McBride's picture and being like, she totally passes. Like, I mean, she looks okay, but I know it's a dude.
Mm-hmm.
As I think all of us do. Listening to him talk, it's a dude. Like, there's just no question. It's like when they tried to convince us all that, what's the Massachusetts one who ran for Congress? The Gamergate one.
Oh, Wu.
Yeah, Brianna Wu. And they were like, how dare Milo Yiannopoulos say she's trans? She's not trans, obviously. And I'm like, are you guys blind? It's a guy. Like, I don't get it. And yeah, like, if I'm face to face with them, am I going to like be like, you're just a dude? No, but like, we all know it's doing nobody on the outside any favors to like pretend this. Everybody can tell.
Right.
It's like weird pretending to me.
I want you to hear where this goes.
Okay. So to that comment and to some of the comments that were made before, my understanding is that y'all are particularly concerned with a perceived biological or physiological advantage some students may have. So I'm correct that this legislation does not forbid competition between taller and shorter girls in basketball, correct? This legislation doesn't forbid competition, for instance, between girls with different cardiovascular capacities, correct?
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay. So the only difference between students of the same gender identity that this legislation singles out for exclusion is based on a student's sex marker on their original birth certificate.
Sex marker. How do you like that? Their sex marker. Very incidental thing.
Which specifically singles out those who are transgender.
No, it singles out biological males and separates them out of the equation as far as who's allowed to participate in female sports.
Right, but cisgender students can participate on the teams of their gender identity because their gender marker matches their gender identity matches their sex assigned at birth. Transgender students can't participate on school sports consistent with their gender identity because their marker on their birth certificate does not match their gender identity, right? And the courts have consistently held that when you make this type of determination and cisgender students can participate consistent with their gender identity and transgender students cannot participate with their gender identity, even if the legislation doesn't say the word transgender, that is discrimination based on transgender status, and under the Bostock U.S. Supreme Court decision, therefore discrimination based on sex. Okay. So am I correct that the students who won't be able to participate on the team of their gender identity are transgender students? You just mentioned a couple of, quote, biological males in other states. To be clear, you're talking about transgender girls.
It's a weak argument. It's the best that they have. But at the end of the day, the problem is that girls with lung capacities that are different and girls with different heights are all still girls. And that's it.
Right.
And only girls are girls. It just happens to be a thing. And if you're some
we already
raging,
have a category
angry,
that's for everyone to be in.
Transsexual dude at a GameStop throwing things and threatening people, you're still not a girl. You're a psycho, but you're not a girl. And like, you got to throw out this cisgender thing too. It's like, just stop it. Stop it. There are boys and girls, and
everyone else gets to participate on the team of their gender identity. Yeah, that's because gender identity is just a word you made up.
Right. Right. Which is
they get to participate on the team of their sex, which is exactly the same thing that trans people get to do. Just because you invented a new thing called gender identity doesn't make that like a legal category.
Totally.
I mean, judges might have ruled because activist lawyers came and told them that it's a real thing, but it's not a real thing.
That's absolutely right. Totally. I mean, we're so far into just ridiculous world here that by the way, here's Nancy Mace. She is making the rounds. Nancy Mace is She's hit her star turn.
A man who wants to force his genital into women's spaces, locker rooms, bathrooms, dressing rooms. That's an assault on women. This is a war on women. And it's a fight that I'm going to take everywhere across the country to protect women and girls.
Congresswoman Sarah McBride does use she, her pronouns. I'm going to honor that. There's no data here to suggest that trans people use the restrooms of their choice increases crime. So what do you say to critics that say that this is a waste of time, this is a waste of Republican capital? Because to your point, this is only a fraction of the population.
Right, and we're not going to strip women away of their privacy or of their rights due to 0.5% who have a mental illness. And the mainstream media, you guys want to call her a trans woman. A trans woman is still a man. He was born with male genitalia. He is a biological man.
Well,
and this is science. I'm saying
men rape and kill women in bathrooms. Sorry, it's true. And suddenly it's, Maura Healey says the same thing. There's no such crime. These crimes are not happening. That's BS. Men rape and kill women in bathrooms. And suddenly the only safe zone now are bathrooms and locker rooms for women. No, we don't have to worry there. You have to look out. There's a war room everywhere. There's, sexual assaults in Connecticut are through the roof right now.
But obviously,
it's never happened there. But the thing is, like, first of all, we're in the state in Massachusetts, the state where Colleen Ritzer was in the bathroom and a man walked in and killed her. This lady, Nancy Mace, is a rape victim, and she doesn't like a stranger who's a guy to be near her when she's vulnerable and not fully dressed.
Yeah, and all these people are like, well, there's separate cubicles anyway. Who cares? Like, but I think it's obvious to me anyway, that they're pushing to have unsegregated bathrooms.
Yes.
That, like, I think the left thinks that it would be fairer and nicer to let everybody be in the same bathroom.
Right, and it's another poison word. Yesterday's poison word was because of diversity, but this one's through inclusivity. No, they have to be included in this bathroom experience. Isn't it interesting how just the women rate so low? They rate low. I talked about on my show today this woman in Connecticut, beautiful, beautiful woman, was 30 years old, married to a man, and just had a baby, so 4-month-old baby. The man and the woman got in an argument. He eventually threw her to the ground and stood on her, essentially, with his knees on her back until she suffocated and died in front of the baby, by the way. And the man is, he's 23. He's going away, or he's 26. He's going away. His sentence is 27 years.
Yeah, it seems not.
27 years. Killed the mother of his baby. Devastated the mother's family's lives. They're all destroyed. The baby will not have a mother
or a father, really.
Or a father. Yep, done. And 27 years. That's all you get a free one in Connecticut and blue states. You get to kill one wife, mother of your baby, and you'll be out. This guy will be out probably in 15 years. So before he's 40. He'll be out.
Well, yeah, that's like, I can't believe the death penalty was taken off the table for the Laken Riley killer, too.
Oh, yeah.
That's a bad one, too. I mean, or, ICE just arrested in Massachusetts 3 more child rapists in Massachusetts that only one of the 3, I forget, was it Bristol County, Berkshire County? One of the B counties that jail actually handed them over to ICE, but the other 2, they did not hand over, and they just released back into the wild. That's because that's what Massachusetts does. Is they're, rape children and then go free. Rape children and then go free. One of them was in Methuen, right down the street from us. Was where he was chilling, hanging out after his rape charges. But like, these are the people that Maura Healey wants to go to bat for, and it boggles my mind because it's like the people running these states literally put criminals, murderers, rapists, like they think of them first before anybody else, which is incredible to me. But that's the way they think. That's the way they think. It was funny. I read, who was saying it? It might have been Nate Silver who called the Kamala's for they, them, Trump is for you ads. He said it's like the trifecta of Republican messaging, where it's immigration, the government spending money on ridiculous things, and trans all in one big thing. So it kind of hits everything. And I think that's really true. But it's because it's absolutely the perfect distillation of what people like Kamala Harris and our other friends on the left all believe. Is they think that the trans criminal illegal immigrant should get priority over you. They totally. Literally do. They prove it every day with everything they do. So, why would you believe any different?
And the thing is that it's so. Just to say, there was a viral thing going around of Rosie O'Donnell the other day, shouting at people and Joe and Mika because they've met with Trump, and she looks so ugly. She's so freaking ugly and angry. And it's like the Laken Riley thing. There's this. Did you watch the video of her parents?
Oof. I saw some of it. It was so bad.
Her parents came along to where the crime scene was found, and the cop's body cam got the parents running over. And the mother looks like she gets struck by lightning, and she falls to the ground. The father is reeling. He's concussed by finding out, because they're telling them that she's dead, she's down there, and that they don't want to see her in this, way she looks, etc. The mother, I think her sister or the mother's sister, also falls in the ground. And literally, it was the weirdest thing. Literally, the police officer has to sit next to her to explain what's going on the pavement, because she's destroyed inside, because this piece of shit had to kill her because she wasn't letting him rape her adequately, and so he had to bash her head in. And and this family has to go through, talk about women, because it was, to this government, it's worth those Laken Rileys. It's worth it, and it's freaking incredible. Like I was saying, Rosie looks so ugly. It's so imagine what ugliness and cancerous stuff this is, to cause these people to be in such pain that the mother's lying on the ground, devastated, because somebody's dicking around with some progressive values and hires these psychos to pull off this progressive BS with Mayorkas and all these bureaucratic freaking non-player characters who are soulless and heartless.
Yeah, now we get to support this dude in prison forever, and if he wants a sex change operation so he can go rape people in a women's prison, then we're going to pay for it for him.
They're so awful. They suck. I'm going to I want to palate cleanse here, okay?
Okay.
Do you know anything about the Kathy Hochul tax?
The congestion pricing thing?
Yes.
I've heard a little bit about it, but not that much.
It's so good. So she had congestion pricing. They're going to roll it out very soon. It's $15 congestion pricing toll into Manhattan. When it's busy, you're not allowed to go into Manhattan, like anybody really wants to. But anyway, so it's $15. But guess what? Listen to this breaking news.
During this process, from day one, I have made affordability for New York families a top priority. I always have, and I always will, fight to put more money in the pockets of everyday New Yorkers. That's why back in June, I stood up on behalf of hardworking families and simply said no. No to a new $15 congestion toll that at that particular time was just too much. Too many people were worrying about high costs, groceries, rent, childcare. These are real challenges for our families. And launching a toll that high really would have hurt a working mom or working dad trying to make ends meet, especially someone driving in from a transportation desert or far from outside the center of the city. As governor, it is my job to make decisions that take into account the needs of all working New Yorkers. So I made the decision to put the congestion pricing program on pause while we devise a different path forward. State law requires that congestion pricing simultaneously raise money for the MTA and drive down traffic congestion. These are important priorities to pay a penny more than absolutely necessary to achieve these goals.
She's getting to it.
And $15 was too much. And I'm proud to announce we have found a path to fund the MTA, reduce congestion, and keep millions of dollars in the pockets of our commuters. Under this plan, the MTA will implement a congestion pricing plan with a reduced daytime toll of $9 beginning in January.
Can you freaking imagine the nerve? We're
It
going
is
to F
incredible.
you.
A little less hard.
Yes, a little less hard. Because we want to keep money in the pockets of New Yorkers, as she said in the beginning.
It's like I'm giving you $6 a day.
You can thank me now. We're breaking your will and your soul and your heart and your ability to pay stuff a little less than we were going to. Can you freaking imagine? And she said
It
that,
is
like,
so
people
nuts.
people who have to go into New York because the other places are job deserts or whatever it is. So there's not a human being in the world who wants to drive over one of those bridges to get into Manhattan for their morning day job. Nobody wants to do that. And they're getting punished for doing that.
Yeah, well, California, did you see the latest estimate? You know how California passed this new gas tax? They
Yes.
passed an additional gas tax. They're estimating it's going to cost the average Californian $1,000 a year of like pre-tax. You have to make $1,000 more next year in California to have the same amount of take-home money just because your gas tax is going up. Like, are you freaking kidding me? I have to come up with $1,000 more because you want more. It's just the way they treat the citizens of this country is so wild. And I don't know. Did you watch any of the Danielle Penny video stuff that was out there today?
Yeah, I did. Amazing.
Like, that's who the state goes after. Somebody should run for governor of New York, like purely on the platform of pardoning him.
Yeah.
Because
It's amazing.
because it's incredible that they're like, the guy is such an innocent, like he's obviously so naive to go in there and talk to the cops like that, thinking that they're on his side.
Well, right. Yeah, no, and that just goes to show you, never, ever.
It reminds me of the January 6th people who are like, yeah, we just were like protesting and I walked through the Capitol, and then they're like, gotcha, and slap the
Right.
handcuffs
I'm
on.
Detective McCarthy. I'm Detective Medina. I actually located this is where you're at right now.
Cool.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Very good. Very good. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
You served in the Marine Corps now?
I did, yes.
I served in the Marine Corps.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Got my little death before the sun attached.
There you go. Nice, man.
What you doing? What was your MOS in the
I was in 0351.
I was an 0331.
Oh, cool. Michigan. Yeah,
Yeah.
weapons platoon. Nice, man.
Yeah.
I was not military, so I don't know what that stuff is.
That's like,
Either way, they're screwing him, and
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Yeah, just never talk to the cops, even if they seem to be friendly and on your team. It's like so bad.
Do we have any other housekeeping before we go to the show? I mean, there's a lot
No,
of,
there's quite a
use
substantial
your buddy
chat
who you
actually,
like,
too.
your buddy Jeffrey. Who's the guy?
Oh, the creepy one.
The trans dude.
Hi, this is a series about cutting off your
Jeffrey
Trumpy family members. Why do you need to be perfect? Why do you need to consider everyone's feelings and make sure everyone is okay in the situation?
I don't know much about this guy, but I know that he would hold my son's hands in a second.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not a fan.
Walk with me.
Not doing much to help trans people.
Yeah, no, I would say so. You see Alan Lichtman, your buddy.
Yeah, not doing much to help the field of presidential historians. that's for
Absolutely.
sure.
Here's him.
So the idea that Trump was this great charismatic figure is absolute nonsense. And again, if you looked at his campaign, it was the worst campaign we've ever seen.
Okay. Was it the McDonald's
He's still
thing?
mad because he's the guy who has like the 13 keys that he claims predict elections
Yes.
perfectly. And he's like, Trump's absolutely not going to win. Although there were people saying they thought that like if you interpreted the keys correctly, they said Trump was going to win. So he's like been freaking out since the election and saying the 13 keys should have worked, except everyone's like racist and misogynist, and that's why it didn't
So
work.
did you
this
see
time.
the Piers
so he's
Morgan
still
thing?
Perfect. We're the ones with the problem.
Yes. Did you watch the Piers Morgan thing?
Yes.
This is the Piers Morgan show. Cenk Uygur, whatever, from the
Whatever,
Young
yeah.
Turks, who now is apparently a Republican, somehow goes after Lichtman. It's freaking great.
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong. And that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in
point.
a total
Don't make
world
it
of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with
right.
your personal
yeah,
attacks.
come find out again.
Make whatever
Okay.
point you want.
Yeah.
Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
You
anything.
attacked me
You
personally.
You're so deluded.
All right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program,
published
I've never been
13
able
books.
to finish a
How
thought.
many books have you published?
Professor of the 51 years, published 13 books. How many books have you published? The credentialism of these freaking midwits is incredible. It's incredible. All my published books.
And then, like, when he gets it wrong, it's not that he got it wrong.
No.
It's like we, the voters, screwed him.
Yes,
He's
it's kind
mad
of
at
beautiful.
it.
Which tells you these people are lunatics, over-credentialed lunatics.
I saw another poll. Another poll has Kamala winning the 2028 primary. Buttigieg is in the mix. All the, Walz is in the mix. Some of them want him to run again. They've already been asking him. He says he'll consider it, but he'll have to talk about it with his family.
Tom, you're as right as rain when it comes to Nancy Mace.
Yep.
My word, what a beautiful, beautiful woman she is. You are right, sir. You are right.
Also, can I just say, like Nancy Mace and Kristi Noem, the era of big breasts are back. I think it's fair to say that. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
But he knows too, and the actress who looks like a young Hillary Clinton.
Sydney Sweeney?
Yes. I mean, here we go. I mean, that wasn't necessarily, it's not my, must-have thing, but I'm glad it's happening. That's great. Jeez. And that's why, like, the 80s are Trump. Highly imperfect, maybe a little rapey, certainly politically incorrect, but not...
But there's hot chicks around.
There's hot chicks around, and everybody's not crazy. You knew what the goal was.
Mm-hmm.
When did the Burn Barrel audience become view watchers? Because I feel we have fans of Joy Behar and Whoopi on the chat, because it seems like they're triggered over and over again by messages that I leave. And I find it absolutely amusing, especially that goon the other day who probably has an IQ of like 12, who has this new idea that I'm going to leave the Burn Barrel because I am going back onto KMS next week. I mean,
was that Phil or was that Dr. Cheswick who said that? But I think he is going on,
Who said that?
KMS.
Somebody did say that, but it was not. I forget who it was.
By the way, speaking of KMS, he played something today, which actually goes into something we were talking about a little bit.
Okay.
But I want to play it too, and I want your thoughts about this. I'm sure you've probably heard it. This is crud. Hopefully I have it here. So come on, Tom. You need this to be there. Come on.
Why can't I remember who said that?
Oh no, it was on Twitter, right? Hold on, you stay right there.
Okay, I'm still right here. I don't know that people are Joy Behar and Whoopi fans on here. I don't know that that's strictly accurate, though, Steve. I don't think that's why they take issue. Do you think it is, Tom?
No, I don't think there are too many. I mean, I think that our listeners are too. I mean, and I hate to be one of these guys that sound like I'm blowing smoke, but you really have to be really stupid to be a Whoopi guy. Feel free to fill.
Well, I just don't want to start talking about something and then have you cut me off.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Kirk played this today.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sean Connery when Barbara Walters interviewed him in '87. or 89. I don't know.
Oh,
remember.
about hitting women?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I want to put it to you.
You did an interview in which you said, it's not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist. It's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No, not at all.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good.
You don't think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
What would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, they can't leave it alone. They don't want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again, and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
So my first girlfriend, Alice from Malden, Susan from Malden, who once again I said was intimate with most of the Malden population. She used to say, "Oh my God, Tom, that's such a turn on," or she'd say, "That's such a turn off," all the time. That was always, I was turning her on or turning her off. I was always, "That's such a turn off." Like when I'd say something or drive somewhere or like open the door wrong way. Oh my God, it's a turn off. Like that wasn't like I wasn't trying to turn anybody on. I would just like I would be graded on those things, and if I did something wrong, or if I said something wrong, or if I liked a preferred song, I was always being a turn on or a turn off. Is what Sean Connery said right there, Alice, a turn on and turn off?
Why do I have to weigh in on this?
Alice?
I like Sean Connery.
In Susan's...
I'm not going to use that.
Yes. Turn on or turn off?
I'm not going to get into that.
If you were married to Sean Connery, he was 57 when this came out, and that was his rule, would you find that intriguing, or would you run like hell?
I would not run like hell, but I'm screwed up.
Here
so don't
we go.
Go by
All right.
me.
All right. No,
don't
no.
go by me.
No, it's not.
Wait.
You're not, Alice. I think 93% of women who are straight would actually, if they were honest, say they'd be intrigued by that.
Well, I think all the autogynephilic trans guys would think that too. So, but it's funny because all I could think about with his like accent and everything is, you remember a few years ago that book series and Starz TV show, I think it's called Outlander, was really popular, about a woman who like accidentally travels back in time to the Scottish Highlands and like marries this like Scottish warrior guy, and there's a spanking scene in that.
Oh,
it was a very, very popular.
Did that scene make you upset?
Well, I didn't really care for the series that much myself. I thought it was really trashy.
I think we're getting
cheesy.
the metadata we need here.
I don't know. Whatever brain cells he had left, I feel bad that were wasted on that thought, but I'm not leaving the burn barrel. I mean, I find this whole thing to be comical. I find it to be funny, and everything to me is done as a joke. And you guys realize, like, you know, the word joke, that there's a J and an E, and it's okay to laugh. So I wish you guys would all stop being triggered. And I think the first step would be to, you know, not listen to Joy, not listen to Whoopi or Sonny or any of those people on The View, because, you know, they just brainwash you guys. So have fun, enjoy it. It's the holidays. Don't be triggered. Take care.
They're probably threatened by Steve's masculinity. That's probably what it is.
Very possible. Very possible.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Tom, I agree with Dr. Cheswick. You got to stop being such a poo-shy, as Sean Connery would say, and get a vasectomy. It's not that big a deal, kid. I had mine 20 years ago.
No.
And I'll never forget the weekend. You know, it's like under an hour procedure in the doctor's office. You get sent home, you sit on the couch, couple bags of frozen peas on your junk, and you're better in like a day or two, and then you just move on. I'll never forget the weekend I had mine. It was Dutch Reagan had just passed, and it was the all the funeral services for that weekend were on that weekend, and I sat there mourning the loss of Dutch, my favorite president of my lifetime, and also the loss of my vas deferens. But of the two, I miss Dutch a lot more.
No.
So get it done, man.
God, no.
Be
dude,
free.
I don't
It'll be the freest day of your life.
No.
Thank you.
Free anyway.
I don't
basically.
trust the medical industry to not check me in and then put me in the freaking morgue a week later. I don't trust them, to be honest with you. How's the volume over there? Because
It looks good.
I
have
changed
mine,
stuff.
I
Okay.
have mine. Well, did you turn it down a little bit?
I don't know what I did. I messed. But Steve from Miramax.
It seems fine to me. It might have
Volume
not.
comes out louder than the other ones.
Okay.
Not because he's loud, but just because his connection or whatever. So I
Okay.
tried to make sure that, because then when you compress everything, it's compressed only as loud as Steve's messages, and so the 1st part.
Speaking of getting a vasectomy, are you planning to see Wicked this weekend?
No, and where is that playing?
Everywhere. It's a new movie.
It's a movie. Yeah, with who?
With Ariana Grande.
Okay,
and
I've seen
Cynthia
AI pictures of her in
Erivo or whatever.
bikinis, which I'm enjoying.
It's but I've seen debate because a lot of people are talking about whether or not it's appropriate to sing along with the songs from the musical, which
Yeah.
are very popular during the movie at the movie theater, whether or not that's appropriate movie theater behavior.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're at a musical, in a movie that's a musical, obviously I would wish that sarin gas obviously be put into the theater. But I would never be at that. So, but the kind of people who would be, go ahead and enjoy and sing along. I think that's great. Joy. A lot of people did the Rocky Horror Picture Show when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I sang along with the Taylor Swift concert movie, but
Okay.
everybody does
This
at
is
that.
so chicky, this thing right now.
Well, no, but I'm just curious because I do think that the movie-going experience has become a lot more campy, and people do stuff like this now. Like, they dress up for things, they sing along, they you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in general, like I say, I'm guilty too with the Taylor Swift movie, but I do think in general it's probably a bad development for society.
Well, but then, yeah, there was a time in 1993 or two, maybe even one, where I hadn't graduated from high school, but 3 of us from high school went, me and Chris Keating and this other kid, you didn't need to know it was Chris Keating, but he drove. We needed one designated drunk driver back then, and so Chris was the drunk driver that night. And we went and we were drinking in the car, and we went to Harvard Square, and we found this old black guy, and he was sitting in the side of it, and he had this huge bottle of vodka, like a handle of vodka. And he was talking to us and saying all sorts of like crazy things about the world and like what we really needed to know, whatever. And we were 3 white kids from Winchester. And he was like not well, but he was interesting, and he was coughing, etc. And we passed around that handle of vodka to each other, and God knows what was in it. But thankfully, it was vodka, so whatever. But and he was a fun guy and a great guy, etc. But I would rather be on the corner in Harvard Square, passing along bottom shelf vodka with backwash that was full of venereal disease, like I'm sure that night was, than spend 5 seconds in a theater with a bunch of people singing. I'm sorry.
Singing musical theater songs from the show Wicked.
Yes, I feel thoughts of violence.
Your daughter's going this weekend.
Oh, teenage chicks are so unimpressive. Oh, goodness.
Hey, good evening, Tom,
Hey,
Alice.
Hi.
Hey, Rudy.
I want to talk about something you brought up yesterday.
Yeah.
About Congress. But
by the way, Rudy's message is 3 minutes and 19 seconds long. Now, usually I would say that's like way too long, although it's probably not as long as a phone call would be. And also, he's now a Patreon member. So take as much time as you'd like, Rudy. I'm looking forward to this.
I got to address something. I mean, Tim from Canton came up in my Twitter feed. His wife is going away on vacation, and he's worried about eating while she's gone.
Yep.
Tom, you know how to cook, right?
Yeah, rudimentarily.
Tom, you could cook, right?
He'd live, yeah.
I thought so.
Hey, Rudy's actually leaving space for me to answer.
That's so nice.
You have revolutionized the chat, Rudy. This is brilliant. Let's go back
it's
here
like
again.
You're really here with us.
Yes, that's brilliant.
But I got to address something. I mean, Tim from Canton came up in my Twitter feed. His wife is going away on vacation, and he's worried about eating while she's gone.
Yeah.
Tom, you know how to cook, right?
Well, yes, I do, as a matter of fact, Rudy.
Tom, you could cook, right?
I can cook. We've put it up against
I thought so.
Yeah.
Does Alice take vacations by herself?
No way. That's slut. I would never let her go away. My goodness. You kidding me? No, Rudy. No.
I didn't think so. So it's a weird situation, but you know what? Tim could address that. But Tim McBride just won a Congress seat to be a House of Representative from Delaware. Oh, I mean, Sarah McBride.
Yes.
But Sarah has to be Tim to use the bathroom in the Capitol because he's a man. And you know I don't play make-believe because I won't call people on your daily show. I mean, I call them Christopher, not Christine. So this is make-believe. Sarah McBride is actually Tim McBride and is physically a man.
Yes, true.
And thankfully, because Alice is a practicing Christian.
Correct.
And part of my problem with callers from Middletown, not to do that, but God made us in his likeness. God made man to be man and woman to be woman. And Deuteronomy 22.5 says that a woman shall not wear that which pertained to a man, and neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. So in some cases, what I'm trying to put is this is a mental illness. And then you have some of these radical churches or some of these radical transgender people.
It's like almost all the churches that aren't Orthodox or Catholic.
Yeah, basically all of them are rainbow churches now.
Yeah, no.
But they're in a tough spot because religious attendance is almost universally down. And it's like, not for nothing. There's a lot of Protestants who are great Christians that I love, but it's really the fruit of having your religious beliefs be open to your own interpretation versus, once and always and forever, right? Like the idea being that like what's true can't change over time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Whereas, and certainly like Martin Luther would not have been on board, or John Calvin would not have been on board with the Protestantism that we see now in the United States. But it comes from their idea that they had that like everybody gets to decide on their own what Christianity means, and not that it means one thing and you can try and figure out what it means, but like it only can mean one thing, and that one thing like can't change over time. It can't change what it is. So that's really like what it comes down to, is that all these churches have dropped in attendance. And yeah, if you're a church that believes that the people who go to the church get to decide what the church says, then no, but that's really like what Protestantism is in the United States. That's what congregational churches are. They vote to
Do they?
Yeah, they vote to decide what they believe in as a church, right? So they're Congregationalists. That's what they believe, is the congregation gets to decide. So, and I attended occasionally my boyfriend's congregational church in Bedford, Massachusetts.
Is this the Russian arms dealer?
No. Russians aren't Congregationalists.
But Bedford, is this, which one is this?
The guy I dated before you.
The guy who now owns our house?
No.
Oh, the guy who cried?
Who I had to cut off his phone bill.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. He would be one, yeah.
He was a Congregationalist, and while I was dating him, his
we
church
got most of the
had
pussies.
their church meeting that they voted on doing gay marriage in their church, but they got to vote on it as a congregation for like their own church building. Like, we're going to be a rainbow gay church now.
Okay, yeah. Did he vote yes?
He didn't, no. And I think his
Why
mom
do you think
didn't.
he didn't?
because I was the bigger influence in our
Yes,
relationship.
exactly right. Exactly right.
Using religion, but they're committing a sin if you were born a man and you're dressing as a woman, or vice versa. No man, even if they pretend and want to play make believe to be a woman, should be in the House of Representatives female bathrooms. But the good news is we got some crazy congresswoman in Colorado, Lauren. We got MTG.
Mm-hmm.
And my personal favorite, greatest veteran of all time, 2 districts over from me, Anna Paulina Luna.
We like her very much. We like her just fine.
Gorgeous babe, avid hunter, sharpshooter. Let Tim McBride wear a dress to the House and sit down in the women's bathroom in the House of Representatives. That's about it.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thanks, Rudy.
Rudy revolutionized chat
Yeah.
with prompts.
Let the record show, though, Montante has accused us of pretending that they're live calls because we do say like hi back and stuff.
Oh, Jesus, Montante.
But like we do know that they're messages actually.
Yeah, well, but also the Big Show would say hi back to the Wonderland calls, and all the time, and Howie to a lesser degree would say hi back. If somebody says hi.
But no, I like
say,
the leaving a little time to respond. That's nice.
Yeah, and puts us in the spot too, like a live call. Well done. Ready, Albie?
Ready.
Habibis,
Hey,
what are we on? Day 2 of this trans congressperson thing in the news cycle? Am I too paranoid, or is the left really that clever that right out of the gate you just drip one little thing of social cultural controversy and already there's infighting among conservatives on social media, conservatives in Congress about you're too pure, you're not pure enough. Speaker Johnson, you didn't take a strong enough stand. Like, are they that damn weak? Or is the left that friggin' clever? Or am I giving them too much credit? I don't know, but can everybody shut up?
I know.
Everybody has got to shut up and squash this as soon as possible. It's fine. I mean, you know that I'm with you and all normal people about this situation, but I just feel like there's somebody in some sort of cigar filled and I don't know, tampon filled back room and estrogen syringe filled back room, like rubbing their hands going,
Thank you.
I hope not. Love you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They've obviously tried to do this stuff, but it's also like, I also think we should not fall into the trap of being like, oh, like we can't bring it up because they want us to be talking about this. So the left has tried to be like, oh, Republicans are trying to distract everybody from getting anything done by talking about bathrooms. Sarah McBride has never brought up a bathroom in her entire life, which of course is not true. Sarah McBride has taken pictures of himself in bathrooms and been like, I'm not supposed to be here, I'm in the girls' room before. So it's like, they bring up the bathrooms, they caused this, let them own it. The guy's already taken a step back and said, like, he's not going to give anybody a hard time about the rules. Like, it's good. We have the rule in place now. Leave it alone. That should be the rule. It's the common sense rule. Let's just go with it. Nothing bad is happening.
Can we also say, like, isn't pretending to be a girl, if you're a gay guy, which I think Sarah McBride is, isn't that just taking being gay one step further? Because rather than just act effeminate and like bitchy and sassy and yes, queenie, etc., like just embodying a little bit more, but not wearing men's clothes anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's debate about that. I think that gender dysphoria and homosexual desires are more related than they would tell you that they are. I think there's like a couple types. Generally, I think like sort of the rule of thumb that people use is there's trans people that want to be with men, which are gay guys who want to be more effeminate.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, autogynephilia type is more that they tend to want to be with women.
Right.
It tends to be men with a fetish about femaleness.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Hey, this is my second call.
Hey, Rudy.
Tom Alice. I listened to the show. You're talking about transgender and all that, men looking at women. This only happens in tiny little New England.
Yeah.
You're letting your local society dictate this whole thing. This isn't happening in the rest of the country. We don't let men in women's locker rooms or on women's teams in the South, in the Midwest, in the Southwest. And it's crazy because you're in a fishbowl. New England is a fishbowl.
Although I think North Carolina had a big law about this.
Yeah, they had a big bathroom bill, as well as Biden's Department of Education said they would withhold funding from colleges that didn't let boys into girls' bathrooms and locker rooms and stuff. You know what I mean? So they are trying to impose this nationally, which is why I think it is important for Congress to stand up for it. Of course, they'll switch it back the second they get a lead, which they probably will in 2 years in the House of Representatives. They'll probably switch it right back.
But those are executive orders, so they won't switch those back. But they.
Well, no. But the Congress one, the bathrooms in.
Oh, you're right. When they have the speaker,
in the Capitol, yeah.
It's a cesspool. And the rest of the country is not buying it. The left coast is, New England is.
Right.
New York, New Jersey, they are. But the rest of the country doesn't live like this.
Yeah.
Put an end to it. Get real people to take over political office.
I hear you. Yeah. No, Florida's doing it right. I mean, I if it's up to me. By the way, we're moving to South Carolina, where we went to. Where were we a couple of years ago?
The Isle of Palms.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're going.
Charleston.
That's where
Yeah.
we're going.
But I think.
Oh, by the way, you saw our house assessment went down.
How did it go down?
It went down $50,000 less. It's not because we've destroyed it, supposedly, but because the market here has been reevaluated. Doesn't matter. We're stuck
It's
here.
not.
We're in prison. It doesn't matter. Ready?
It's probably just because there's that one house up the street from us that had to lower their asking price from 1.2 to 1.1 million or something stupid.
Hi, Habibis.
Hey.
We need to start looking ahead to inauguration because while we could not put together a burn barrel election watch party, let's talk about getting together for inauguration Monday. January 20th or Sunday the 19th, which is a weekend. I want to get ahead of this because I feel like if the Burn Barrel friends and family don't do it now for this occasion, it's probably not going to happen for ages and ages to come. I'll be more than happy to help with organizing. I'll be more than happy to throw some money at a venue if they need money, but we must start talking about this and planning it now if we want it.
So this is interesting. If anybody has a venue, let us know. I think this would be interesting to have kind of an inauguration party, although it's the middle of the day. It doesn't matter. I'm intrigued.
Okay.
Yes. So, would be fun.
It would be fun
to happen. Also, a very quick thank you to you guys and to, I think, Steve from Gloucester and whoever else, if anybody, that suggested that I ought to have a podcast. That's very, very high compliments coming from you all. I actually did have a podcast with a co-host 10 years ago, and I still do guest hosting and guest segment appearances on some podcasts. And thank you very much for that. I'm very honored by those compliments. Let's get going with this party. Love you. Bye.
Here we go. I'm all for it. I'll just bandy about some ideas.
I know that Trump and Obama had a lot of press secretaries while they were in office, but the two that stand out to me are Kayleigh McEnany and Jen Psaki. And if you look at their careers now, Kayleigh McEnany aside from being beautiful, is very intelligent. She's very well versed, articulate, and does a great job on Fox being a host of shows or a guest panelist. She's really good at what she does. Jen Psaki, ugh, I could do without. I just don't understand anything she ever says. She's so far left. She's just not a good listen. But I'm wondering if you guys think that Obama's girl, KJP, the binder, if she's going to get a show once she leaves office, and how you guys think it could be if she doesn't. I mean, we can all agree. I mean, the woman's a fright. She is just not able to put together a sentence correctly, but could you guys imagine her having a show? Oh, the horror.
No, she's a lightweight. I do think, but so is Saki. Saki's not good either.
She's a lot better at the job than KJP was.
Yeah, KJP didn't. Well, but she's also. She didn't realize. Well, I'm sorry. She was misled into what her role would be. Is that she just had to be historic and first, and
be a black lesbian. Everyone will love you out there.
Right, mention as much as possible, but Saki was also not great. Bedingfield was their best one, the cute one with the bangs, who lost the bangs, I think. But no, and I do think that Obama's people were better. Obviously, Dana Perino, not Jay Carney. I don't think Jay Carney was snarky and bitchy, but Robert Gibbs.
Oh right,
and then the third one was like crappy. It matters. It's a terrible job. It's a hack job. It's not a real job.
But yeah, everyone remembers McEnany
because she was so. They finally calibrated right. You know that she was in. You know, it's funny. You'd have to.
And I don't even think she was press secretary that long.
No, she wasn't.
Like less than a year, I think. But yeah, she was definitely the standout like, amongst Trump's people. Yeah, I feel
being a press secretary during like COVID, et cetera, with Trump is like that's a tough one because he's like meandering and spitballing during the COVID meetings, and then you know that binder is not going to write itself real time with somebody like that. So I'm a Dana Perino guy, always, cutest, hottest little press secretary there ever has been.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hey, Steve.
Really interesting discussion on the show today about the medical field and psychedelics and that whole scene. You know, I learned something very early. I was in the pharmaceutical industry, all on the sales side for more than 30 years. And one thing I learned very early on was that a patient, or more importantly, a patient's parent who leaves the office without a prescription is an unhappy patient. And, you know, at the time, all I was dealing with were sort of antibiotics, and that sort of attitude ended up, you know, creating a lot of antibiotic resistance just because, you know, as soon as the patient or as soon as the parent dispensing the medicine observed that the kid was feeling better and the kid said they felt better, you know, they'd stop taking the medication. And then, you know, the way to create resistance is to hit bacteria with low levels of antibiotics over a prolonged period of time. And it just was a disaster. And the same thing, I think, applies to antidepressants. You've got people dispensing antidepressants like they're candy because somebody presents in front of their internal medicine or their family practice doctor and they've been depressed. And, you know, the doctor doesn't generally recommend getting some counseling or any of that stuff. They just hand out, you know, not Prozac anymore, but, you know, Wellbutrin or whatever, you name the products. And it's just not good. And regarding the suicidality thing, you know, I think a lot of people think that these antidepressants act very quickly, and they do not. So you could have someone who's doing really badly. They start taking the antidepressant, and it takes, you know, a few weeks for it to really kick in. That's when a lot of those suicides happen. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. Great topic. Bye.
Yeah, the other piece about the suicidality thing is they think like part of what those, but we don't understand really well what those drugs do. But one of the things is they think part of what those drugs do is they help you like get over the hump that depression has of like not wanting to do anything, of just wanting to lie in your bed and like not facing your life and not doing anything. So if you have a person who's like thinking about suicide all the time but hasn't like gotten up the sofa to do it, those drugs can help you like act on thoughts in a more decisive way than you naturally would.
That's amazing.
That's one idea we have of maybe why we see people commit suicide after they start taking some of
and
these
another
drugs.
thing that I heard recently is that, you know, like Robert F. Kennedy talks about, there used to be 4 vaccinations, and now there's
like a gazillion. Yeah,
there's 87. Somebody said, and I know that this is oversimplification, but somebody said that pharmaceutical companies are moving millions and millions and billions of dollars worth of medications in the form of vaccinations for people who aren't sick. And I thought that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, does a baby need an HPV vaccination?
Well, no, we don't give babies HPV. The hepatitis one gets a lot of
Hep
scrutiny.
B, that's what I meant.
Because, we give babies Hep B on the first day of life, essentially.
I'm sorry, but I am asking questions. You know, I didn't used to know. Then again, like, I never used to also trust the flu shot thing. Always was like cagey to me. The way that's like, oh yeah, it's
Well, if you think about it, we're a healthier society now than we were 100 years ago. If your market is only sick and dying people, then it's a much reduced market.
Well, sure. But
you need to find things that you can like sell to people that don't have any perceptible issues.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I also heard something about the fluoride in the water thing. Is it like
is that like becoming mainstream now?
Well, it's in the water.
Well, I know it's in the water, but is it becoming mainstream that that's like somehow harmful?
It's not that it's necessarily harmful, but there's a lot of evidence out there that everybody over the last 50 years have gotten less cavities, whether or not there's fluoride in the water. So in other words, toothpaste is getting better.
And people like brush their teeth and own water picks and stuff.
Exactly. Or like in our house, we have Listerine. That's like vodka that our kids gargle.
Me and your son use a more boutique.
Yeah, you have your own personal
mouthwash.
Vodka stream.
And I have like a Oral-B electric toothbrush and things like that.
Wow. What kind of the weird preemie is this? I have an Oral-B electric toothbrush.
I like my teeth to feel clean. You don't, I don't think.
Yeah, I do. I use a toothbrush. It's fine. One is rotting, I believe, but who cares?
You could go to the dentist. You have insurance. I've offered to make you an appointment.
I will be checked in.
So good luck with Tom getting that vasectomy appointment since he won't even go to the dentist or a tooth cleaning. But anyway.
Yes, I've never had a broken bone. I've never been operated on before whatsoever at all. Could you please use your steely instruments and slice open my dick? That's exactly what I think I want right now.
I don't think they slice open your dick, you psycho. It's not where it is.
Oh, it's not? I believe that's the problem area when it comes to pregnancy, Alice. I don't think they're going to be going for my femur.
Thank you guys for the messages.